Yes. Thank you. Okay, welcome to the November 5th meeting of the Rybrook Zoning Board of Appeals. As you can see, we have the full complement of the board this evening. If you're going to be, well, we have with us Village Council Bob Zitt, Village Building Inspector Steve Hughes, Board of Trustees Liaison David Heiser. We have two items on the agenda this evening. If you are going to be making a presentation, please come to the podium, state your name, or whether you're representing someone as an agent, the nature of the variance. We should be able to move through these applications rather rapidly. We don't seem to have a massive number of people in the audience wanting to say yay or nay. So let's begin with the first application, and then we'll open the public hearing for that. The application is ZBA24-015 Christopher Ware, Anita Ware, 3 Terrace Court. Construct a second-story addition, 3 dormers, and interior alterations.
So hopefully I'm going to hook this in and we can get
But first, can I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Public hearing is open, please.
Yeah, hopefully I can hook this onto the screens and you can see what I see. See it over here, so it's a good start.
Okay.
Okay. My name is Evan Sikowski. I'm the architect for the project at 3 Terrace Court. So we're here today because we are asking for a variance to exceed maximum allowable gross floor area on an addition project for this home. There's also a renovation project, but we're here for the addition. What we're asking for is to go over that allowable amount by 281 square feet. And so basically what you have on the screen right now is the proposed site plan, and you can see on this is the outline of the existing house, which is, whoops, sorry, bear with me, is here. And so the addition, which is this shaded area over here, is entirely within the footprint of the existing home. So we're not going out or adding any coverage or anything like that. Just take you here so you can see what that looks like as well. So basically, this house, we feel there is a hardship for this house and a reason why we would like to exceed the maximum allowable floor area. The house is an existing slab on grade home. There's no basement, there's not even a crawl space, so all functions of this home must be above grade, short of tearing it down and starting from scratch. The homeowner is looking to add a home office space, home gym space, proper laundry room. We feel that all of these, and I can show you how that lays out on the plan here, that's the second floor plan, and also a larger closet for their master bedroom. We feel that all of these are reasonable sizes for these spaces in a home. Outside of the walk-in closet, the other 3 functions are often functions that people might put in a basement. Most of the homes in Rybrook have basements, and the zoning code, as long as that basement is below grade, doesn't count it towards gross floor area. So again, our hardship is that we don't have the opportunity to put any functions in a basement. So in order to make this home functional for this family, we really have no choice but to add on to the home and add what counts as gross floor area. So that's why we're here tonight, and we're hoping that you'll approve what we think is a modest request.
Have you looked at the other homes on Terrace in terms of comparability?
You know, I didn't, and I guess I should have. There are a few homes on that block that have clearly been renovated and added to. I don't know the square footages or if any of them needed variances, but they look like they've been at a minimum maxed out, just from the look of them.
It's, that section on Terrace is very, when I went through it, it's very compact. It's an R10, is that correct? An R10?
Yes.
Okay. And the houses are really relatively close together compared to other sections. So my first concern was, when this addition comes in, how does it impact the neighbor to the side of the extension?
Sure.
And what screening or whatever will be provided or available?
Well, in terms of screening, I don't know, that hasn't been discussed yet. I mean, there's actually, so the neighbor to the right, and the homeowner is here tonight, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but the home that's to the right is a corner lot, and that home is actually way out, like it's diagonal, facing that intersection. And I am sorry, I don't have an image of that.
Are there windows on that side that will be facing
From
that?
the existing home or the new?
On the proposed, you know, on your addition, are there going to be windows in that second story?
There are windows in the gym, yes. So that's this side of the house right here. There's two windows.
Okay.
The view from there, like I said, though, would be looking at the angled corner of that neighboring home. I do think there's a fair amount of space there because of the way that home is situated on its lot. You know, I'll also note that we're within our setback allowance on this one. It's not as though
Right.
we're close to the lot line or anything like that.
Good, okay. Anyone have any questions regarding this application?
No.
In terms of can you give us a front view of the proposed?
Sure.
Okay, that's a portico,
Yes.
and you want to bring that up, Joe?
Well, simply that generally, we don't want you to be able to expand the house to meet the portico, so you would have to, in the future.
Okay.
So we would want a stipulation that there be no expansion forward to beyond where it is, other than the portico itself.
Are you talking about going over the portico?
Or bringing any part of the house
Even
up.
just
Any
bringing
part
out
of the
the front of
house,
the house?
bring it forward.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see.
You
why we
already
object
have-
to that. I mean,
you're
the
already
portico is
pushing-
right up against the minimum setback anyway. So if you were to expand into that space, you wouldn't even be able to have a. I mean, I guess you could have it from the side or something, but it's, we don't have any objection to that.
Because you will have the GFA limit anyway, because you're pushing it now.
For what it's worth, that entry space. Let me bring up the plan again. Is
That's the way it currently is, it's just a roof.
right. There's an existing portico there that we're replacing. So it's basically it's a very slightly different footprint, but it's basically replace in place. The other thing I wanted to point out in the foyer, that's a double height space currently. There's nothing above this is open through to the second floor here. So if, there wouldn't even really be an advantage to pulling that out because you're just adding to your entry foyer space, really. There's nothing else you'd be able to put there.
Okay, is there any feeling on whether you want to go ahead with a condition on?
Well, I think I would want the
Just the
condition.
condition that Joel just said.
As a safeguard, yeah.
And again, we don't object to that. I was just pointing out, I don't even think it's anything to worry about. But
Okay. The problem, as you know, there are future residents.
And what someone says 10 years from now.
Sure.
Is not necessarily what they say now, so.
Yeah.
Bob, can you craft that condition as we continue? Okay, thank you. Any other questions of the architect?
No.
Okay, now, you alluded to the fact there's somebody else here. Do you want to speak to the application at all? Okay, all right.
Come on.
There being no one wanting to speak, Steve, was there any late correspondence regarding for or against the application?
No, we haven't received anything from any interested party.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience who want to speak for the application? Anyone against the application? Okay, can I have a motion to close the public hearing? Okay, public hearing is closed. Okay, as I run through the 5 factors, It is self-created. The variance coming in at, percentage-wise, it is significant,
Yep.
okay, from a quantitative point of view. Now, I had asked Steve whether or not there are any water issues with respect to the property, and you had indicated that there were none aware of in that particular area?
Correct. There's no water issues as I'm aware of.
Okay, can I just ask you, even though I closed it?
Yeah.
How are you capturing the water coming off that addition? Have you thought about where it's going?
Well,
and-
so it's the same coverage again. So we're just building up over existing roof that currently exists where there's existing gutter systems. So it's not like we're adding roof area. It's the same roof
So you
area.
just move the gutters up, is that?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you. So there doesn't appear to be any physical or environmental conditions. Comfortable with that? And what about the character of the neighborhood? As was indicated by the architect, and I went through it, there are some houses that obviously were built up, and it's very typical of Rye Brook in a sense of transitioning. A lot of the homes are blowing up the doors and expanding. So it is part of the tradition of expansion. The question is, as we do the balancing, is the benefit to the applicant exceeding any of the negatives associated with the application? And
So-
I came down on the side of no.
I don't think so.
No on that one. You comfortable with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, it will not affect the character of the neighborhood. And I guess there is no other way that the applicant's needs can be met with respect to this. And I thought about, is this the smallest possible variance? But then I kind of answered it because you're going right above the
We're
footprint.
not changing the footprint.
And you're not changing the footprint, okay? Okay. So let me go ahead and read resolution. Whereas the application has been made to the zoning board by Christopher Ware and Anita Ware collectively for a gross floor area variance in connection with the proposed second-story addition, 3 dormers, and interior alterations on property located at 3 Terrace Court in an R10 zoning district on the west side of Terrace Court, approximately 90 feet from the intersection of Jennifer Lane and Terrace Court. Said premises being known and designated on the tax map of the Village of Rye Brook as parcel ID 135.66-1-22. Whereas the applicant seeks relief from the requirements of the Rye Brook zoning code, section 250-22, section E, the maximum allowable gross floor area is 2648 square feet. The applicant's proposed second-story addition will result in a gross floor area of 2,929 square feet, thereby requiring a variance of 281 square feet. Whereas a duly advertised public hearing was held on November 5th, 2024, closed on November 5th, 2024, at which time all those wishing to be heard were given such opportunity, whereas the proposed action is a Type 2 action pursuant to the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, and accordingly no further environmental review is required. Whereas the board, from the application after viewing the premises and neighborhood concern, and upon considering each of the factors set forth at section 250-13, section G, part 2, items 2A through E of the Rye Brook Code, finds: 1, the requested variance will not create any adverse impact to the character of the neighborhood. 2, the benefits the applicant seeks cannot be achieved through another method feasible for the applicant to pursue that does not require the variance. The requested variance is substantial. The requested variance will not create any adverse impacts to the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood. And 5, the need for the variance is self-created. Okay, now therefore be it resolved that said application is hereby provisionally granted on the following condition. What about the paying in full? That's not on here. Should that be on here?
It usually is.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, so I'll basically say the applicant has to pay all the fees to the village in the appropriate and timely manner. Okay, and okay, the second condition, okay, you want to read that, please?
Sure, the applicant shall not expand the house to meet the portico without first obtaining necessary approvals from the Village of Rybrook.
Okay, comfortable with that?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Okay, now let's vote on it. Steve?
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
Don, yes. Application approved, 5 yeses, 0 nos.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. So I put ... Bob, so that you can put the appropriate thing in. Okay, that's all right. As long as we catch. Okay, there we go. Okay, the next application is ZBA 24-016 Robert Gordon-Brown and Jennifer Parker, 33 Woodland Drive, new raised patio terrace with retaining walls, outdoor kitchen, and pergola.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is David Verespi. I'm a landscape architect registered in Connecticut, New York. My office is at 15 Rock Spring Road in Trumbull, Connecticut. Tonight, we are here on behalf of Robert Gordon-Brown and Jennifer Parker to request a variance to section 25-37.b of the Village of Rybrook Code. The code states that a deck cannot exceed 4% of the total lot area. Our proposed deck has a coverage of 4.75%. We are requesting a variance of 0.75%. This subject parcel is located at 33 Woodland Ave, and it straddles, what? Woodland Drive, sorry. And it straddles the municipal border with the town of Portchester. As a result, any area of the parcel located in Portchester cannot be used in the area calculations for the lot. This reduces the effective areas when making calculations and puts the property owners at a disadvantage with the neighboring parcels. The subject parcel is 29,913 square feet, 8,437 square feet, or 28.2% of the parcel is in Portchester, and 21,476 square feet, or 73%, is located in Rybrook. The area of our raised patio is 1,019 square feet. All of the work is being completed within the area of the property in the Village of Rybrook, and it's in a scale that is in keeping with the expectation and other work in the neighborhood. If this patio was calculated on a lot that is not disadvantaged by straddling the two parcels, we would have a coverage of 3.4% as opposed to 4.75%. So it's within what would be expected on this parcel of this size. So we are requesting the variance of 0.75% to sort of level the playing field, so because the lot is disadvantaged by straddling the two parcels. We request the variance be granted for that section. The hardship is not self-imposed. We can't control where the Village of Rybrook and Portchester line is,
But you can't control the size of the deck.
but we can control the size of the deck.
Right.
Yes,
So it is
somewhat self-imposed.
technically self-imposed.
Yes. There are no adverse impacts to the neighbors. There are no adverse impacts to the overall neighborhood at large. There are no life, safety, or health impacts to the Village of Rybrook or Portchester or the neighborhood. And we respectfully ask the variance to be granted.
Now, one of the questions we have, we recognize the existence of the hardship,
Yes.
but when one buys a property and they're told that they're going to be paying taxes to two municipalities, that usually creates a certain amount of interest. And so one of the extensions of that would be, how does that impact the quality of my life? I guess for some, the positive is that you can send your children to the Blindbrook schools or the Portchester schools. I happen to know the property very well since I walk in front of it every day. So I'm very familiar with that. But my question has to do with the size of the deck. As the architect, why does the deck have to be that size and not smaller? To reduce the overall impact of the variance.
We've kept the overall patio inside the size that it is based on furniture layouts. So when you look at designing outdoor spaces for living, or you're looking at designing a house or any outdoor spaces, you start with spatial relationships. So, okay, if I'm creating a sitting area outside, a typical outdoor chair for sitting would be, say, 30 inches square. And a couch would be, say, 30 inches by 72 inches or 60 inches. And when you start doing furniture layouts, whether you're creating a house in an interior space or an exterior space, you need a certain area of space to accommodate these things. And then you start thinking about circulation ways and interior hallways. Roughly, my code is 36 inches. So when you start thinking about outside and you're moving between spaces and you're creating areas in front of the house, we want to create those same sort of relationships for circulation, so moving around and through the spaces. And if you're creating a dining table area for a certain number of people, it wants to have a certain area for that to occur, so that you can pull the chairs out and move around, and you want to create a space that's comfortable and not like you're crammed in there. And then steps down, and then we have an outdoor kitchen space with a little herb garden next to it. We've tried to include green space on the raised terrace elevation so that it would reduce the overall effect of the area. I am not a fan of bringing green space up to the building, so I prefer to bring paving up to the building, just so we can do flashing and protects the structure. And
Yeah.
it's facing north, so we tend to pull things out a little bit when you're facing north, just so that you're not right in the shade.
Because the way I sort of think about the process is, if you started with the premise that we're going to build a deck that meets the bulk standards, and then you design it with that condition, that you start with a square footage, the impression I'm having is that you're starting with what we would like to have and how we would like to lay it out, and let's get a deck the size that would accommodate that. Is that a fair assessment? Because that's what it sounded like when you were describing it. The couch goes here, the thing go here, and then we need enough space to walk around. Rather than, if we met the deck standard, and then we put the appropriate furniture in place, we would not need a variance. So
We were looking at the coverage as the overall plot, not as being restricted to just the area in Rybrook.
yeah, I understand that.
That's sort of a,
You're not the only one in Rye Brook, though, that has the coterminous situation. So,
right.
What we have to do as a board is look at each application individually.
Yes.
And if we say to your applicant that it's okay, we'll ignore the restriction that the Portchester component puts on it, I would not want that to let anyone else think that that gives them that same argument. So I'm looking at it from the point of view of, we have 5 factors by which to judge, and we'll weigh the applicant's need against those 5 factors. The fact that it happens to be in Portchester is an additional, restriction that
Right.
this application has that maybe others do not have. So that was why I was just trying to get an understanding of, the need to have a variance that was 0.75, which is significant statistically. And I'd like to be able to balance that against what the applicant needs versus the granting of the variance based on the 5 factors. So that's basically the logic of my question. But I do have one, as a neighbor.
Yes.
A culvert was put in front of that house along the Portchester section. It is the only one on Woodland Drive that has that cement culvert in front of the house. So every day when I walk by, I ask myself, who put that there? Was it the applicant? Was it Portchester?
The town of Portchester.
They did.
Yeah.
And Oh,
That was one of the questions the owners had for me. It was like, there's this trench out in front of the property that is a mess. How can we get this cleaned up? And then he called me up and said, it's taken care of. We don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's free to speak, but I just called the village manager of Portchester.
That was very nice of them.
I thought so, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it was, just so you know that beautiful 100-year-old chestnut tree that you
Yes.
once upon a time. I had the folks at Barker Tree come by, and the problem is all the runoff from the street was causing stress on the tree.
Oh, okay.
And so I went, and look, I mean, it took a year and a half of politely asking Portchester to do it, and one day they came along and said they'd found the budget, and I said, thank you.
Congratulations.
So,
Just for the record, that was Robert Gordon-Brown, homeowner, 33 Woodland Drive.
Understood.
So,
'Cause we like the record to be complete.
so one question is, the impervious restriction is largely related to water and, you know, where it's gonna go. So what's the current drainage situation and how is this gonna affect drainage?
We have prepared a drainage plan. It was done by David Gessel. Who's a civil engineer. He prepared a drainage plan that will pick up any additional impervious coverage on the property. And it goes
Does
into
that include,
Coltex.
okay, Coltex and?
Yes. Yep. And it complies with the regulations. I think the building inspector has reviewed that. And
Well, that'll be reviewed by Michael Nowak when we get to
Okay.
that point.
I
Yeah.
I have a question for the village attorney related to this. If the purpose of the restriction is water, and it's in relation to the size of the property, et cetera, why wouldn't the Portchester aspect of the property be counted when it's still one single residence? I understand, yes, it's a different village, but in terms of the purpose of the restriction, why would that matter? Why don't we count it?
I don't mind,
think
I
you can
don't
answer that
mind, no, I don't mind considering it. In other words, the fact that you have this hardship from Portchester,
I mean, a rule's a rule, but.
it's not
Yeah.
entering into my decision, though. In other words,
But
I'm-
if, what your point is, if the lot were entirely in Rybrook, you wouldn't be here.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And because more than 25% is 28% of the lot, that reduces our coverage numbers by 28%.
Right.
If this was a 50-50 lot,
Yeah.
I don't know how you'd build a house, you'd build anything on this lot without a variance because it would reduce all of the numbers. And to us, this is, 28% of the lot is, as you say, statistically significant, and it creates a statistically significant reduction in the calculations for this lot. And this is the only, we could conceivably reduce the area of our deck. We've already done that to bring it back, in line and closer to the house and stuff once. We could do that again, but it would, we would be taking things out of our program.
See, on one hand, can this deck be reduced? Personally, I think it probably could be.
I think so.
But the other side of it, which honestly is weighing more heavily on me, is the fact that the deck size is appropriate for the complete structure. Putting aside part is in Portchester, part is in Rybrook, in relation to the structure itself, it is an appropriate percentage.
And for the lot size, if this was entirely in Rybrook, we would only be at 3.4% and not maxing out our allowable square footage.
You're almost 5,000 square feet above the bulk standard for the R25 zone,
In terms of,
square footage of the lot, total lot. Your lot is 29,000 square
Yes.
feet total, and you're in an R25 zone, so you're already 5,000 square feet above the minimum for that particular area of Rybrook,
it's
so
an oversized lot.
it's an oversized lot,
Yeah.
relatively oversized.
It's an
lot.
interesting lot also, which has been difficult to work on because there's no rear yard, there's no rear property line, so there's no rear yard setback. which is interesting. So there's only three, there's the front arc, and then
Yeah.
there's the two side property lines. It's a pie-shaped lot, so there's no rear lot line.
So that's sort of like a mathematical puzzle. In other words, there is a space there, it's called the dot, where they two come together, but technically that's not enough to be called a rear yard. I mean, you see what I'm saying? That
Yes.
it's just, it's not the only, I have a,
Geometry teacher?
I have a pie-shaped lot right across the street from me, which caused the exact same problems when that house was trying to be built, because it had to come forward toward the street because of the impact on the flood zone. So they had to come forward. It does create its unique situations,
Yes.
just as the previous application with no basement caused some concern. Is there anyone in the audience who wants to speak for the application? Anyone want to speak against the application? Can I have a motion to close the public hearing? Public hearing is closed. Okay. The only two is substantial quantitatively, 0.75, okay, and it's self-created, other than the fact there's no environmental conditions impacted. It's not going to affect the character of the neighborhood. And we already discussed, is this the smallest variance that will meet the applicant's needs? And we seem to come down on that, right? Okay, let me read the resolution. Whereas application has been made to the zoning board by Robert Gordon-Brown and Jennifer Parker, collectively the applicant, for a deck coverage variance in connection with the proposed raised patio terrace with retaining walls, outdoor kitchen, and pergola on property located at 33 Woodland Drive in an R25 zoning district on the north side of Woodland Drive, approximately 150 feet from the intersection of Beechwood Boulevard and Woodland Drive. Said premises being known and designated on the tax map of the Village of Rybrook as parcel ID 136.29-1-4, whereas the applicant seeks relief from the following requirements of the Rybrook zoning code. Section 250-37, Section B, the maximum allowable deck coverage is 4%. The applicant's proposed raised masonry deck patio will result in a deck coverage of 4.75, thereby requiring a deck coverage variance of 0.75%. Whereas a duly advertised public hearing was held on November 5th, 2024, and closed on November 5th, 2024, at which time all those wishing to be heard were given such opportunity. Whereas the proposed action is a Type 2 action pursuant to the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, and accordingly no further environmental review is required. Whereas the board, from the application after viewing the premises and neighborhood concern, and upon considering each of the factors set forth at Section 250-13, Section G, Part B, Items 2A through E of the Rybrook Code, finds the requested variance will not create an adverse impact to the character of the neighborhood. The benefits the applicant seeks cannot be achieved through another method feasible for the applicant to pursue that does not require the variance. 3, the variance is substantial. 4, the variance, requested variance will not create any adverse impact to the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood. And 5, the need for the variance is self-created. Now therefore be it resolved that the said application is hereby granted to the following conditions. Again, pay all the fees before, at the appropriate time, for the application to be officially approved. No other conditions, okay? Are we ready to vote?
Yep.
Okay, Steve?
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
Don, yes. Application approved, 5 yeses, 0 nays. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Enjoy the ride back to Trumbull.
Thank you. Listening to all the stuff on the TV tonight.
I'll point out while you're in the car.
Okay, there you go, Bob. Okay, the last item on the agenda is the approval of the October zoning summary. Any problems with that? No problems? Can I have a vote on it? All approved?
So moved.
Approved, okay. Motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Okay, public hearing is officially closed. Congratulations. Good time.
Yep.
Thank you.
Let's all go vote again.
Hey, Steve, what do we have on December?
Nothing yet.
Oh, good.
So when do we make the call?
When's the deadline?
Yesterday, today. When was it?
Today's the deadline we were closed today, so we gotta see if anything comes in this week.
What, you have until Friday?
Yeah.
Are you expecting anything?
I'm not expecting anything, but could be a flood. Still coming in.
Don't say flood. Flood, not in Rye Brook.
That's a bad word.
I'm gonna put my stuff in now.
Okay.
Get set. I'm putting my thing in now.
I'll go home and get sick.
No, you don't know. You know, I think it looks bad now, but,
He's gonna declare victory in a few minutes.
Oh,
That's
because
true.
they have to
but I think,
approve.
I mean, Flora's a biggie, but, I mean, what's really unfortunate, it'll,
We had to do that once, I remember,
That's-
around the Harrison
I mean, we
border.
never
We had
thought
to get
about it until the
permission
last, like, 3
from the
elections.
county.
But,
You know, 7 states.
like, right, I mean, did you ever think about, like electoral matter? Oh, it's not in theory a great idea, but then when you see it.
But you handled that very well.
It's not a good thing.
very funny.
So, but again, you see the same.
That's the purpose, is
No.
to, is in relation to the
No,
property,
nope.
you know, for flooding or whatnot. Why wouldn't we?
No, I don't think
Regardless
so.
of the, yes, the section.
But again, you got those states that they didn't report, they're not even reporting yet, so it looks bad. But I think last time it was like that too.
Care about it because of the entire property. You know,
No, I don't think so.
I mean,
Not
yeah,
in
that's
this.
the thing.
That's what he was concerned about.
it doesn't make any sense to me.
That's what he asked,
Yeah.
if he has to go to Portchester.
Well, there are several houses right in that section that have property on both Portchester and Blind Brook.
Yeah,
And all of the residents send their kids to Blind Brook.
yeah,
Obvious reasons, but they still have to pay
right.
part of the taxes.
Their backyard abuts to the backyard of the houses on Betsy Brown.
Do they pay double taxes or they get a credit?
No, the other way, the other side of the street.
Is it like if you live in New York, working